Morning, this is Gene. I guess I'm number 6.
This is Stephen on number 7. It's Stephen. You hear me?
I got you, Stephen. Good morning.
Good morning. I hear you. Good morning, David Yates.
Hey, Gene. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm on the web piece of it also, David, so I can see what you're doing. However, in about 25 minutes, I'm going to have to go mobile. I can keep you on hands-free as I'm driving, but I won't be able to look at what you have beyond that point.
Okay.
But I'll stick with the call.
Okay. I put everything, Gene, is out on my share drive. So some of the files are kind of large, so we didn't attach it. But if you go out there to my share drive, you'll see both topics in their own folder out there.
Okay. Thanks, David.
Good morning, this is Cheryl.
Hey, Cheryl, good morning. It's David.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning, it's Friday. Woohoo!
Cheryl. Cheryl.
Yeah. Yes.
This is Barbara.
Hey, Barbara.
Did you get a chance to talk to Terry yesterday?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I'll call you later then.
She said both are fine.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay.
So any insight you have would be appreciated.
Okay. All right. I'll call you later after the call.
Right.
Cheryl, this is David. I think I've got 8:31. I'm thinking about going ahead and starting.
Yeah, that sounds good. You look like you got a good little group, so I'd go ahead and start. Sounds great. The floor is yours.
Morning, Jessica.
You got Mitch here. Good morning, everyone. Wanted to talk with this morning about 2 topics, the Lean Sigma 180 and also the Lean Performance U or the PIT U. We're going to start by talking about the Lean Sigma 180 first. Just for information for everybody, out on my share drive, I put several files out there. They're in a folder called LPU for 2013, which is the Lean Performance U, and then another folder, it's the Lean Sigma 180. So everything that I have on my screen today, you have access to out there. Some of the files were kind of large, especially one of the PowerPoint files, so I just put them out there on the share for everybody to get to. Starting with the Lean Sigma 180, I want to give a lot of credit to Chris McGraw for helping pull some of this material together. There's a sample of the statement of work out there. That's what I have on the screen right now. And just to kind of give you some background on what the what Lean Sigma 180 is, we had a lot of input from our clients and also the RMs. And what they wanted was less time that their folks would be away from the plant. And also what we wanted to do was try to customize some of the materials a little bit more to fit our clients. And so when you look at that, it is what we're calling an 11-day of actual class time, and it's centered around a project. So you'll have 7 days of class, and then the class will get mentoring 1 day, usually every 2 or 3 weeks, until the project is completed. So you have 3 days of mentoring there. Then we'll have our 1 day of review and celebration and project certification. So that's where the 11 days for the team come in. The 12th day that you'll see in the package is the upfront day. And to be honest, it's probably the most important of the days, because when we have an open enrollment class, only about 25% of those folks actually go on to complete a project. And one of the things we wanted to do was make that the centerpiece of this option for a Greenbelt. And so what we do is we meet with leadership up front. That's that first day. And we walk through and actually pick the project at that time with leadership. And what that does is it lets the senior leader
I'm on the conference call.
buy in, as well as we define the scope at that point in time. So before they ever go to class and get the training, they have their project identified, they have it scoped, and they have buy-in from all at the facility. So that's where the 12th day comes in. So when you look through there at the end, see if I can move down the page here. Screen's being a little slow here. When you get down to the bottom, you'll see where all 12 days are broken out. It kind of gives you a description of what we're doing on each day. So that should give the RM a good tool to show the client what we're trying to accomplish every day, as well as, you know, gives them a very clear understanding of the time commitment that this is going to take. So I don't know if there's any questions on that. That's kind of what the program is. It's a derivative of our existing Greenbelt. The big thing is you'll work, we're restricting this class size to a size of 6, and all 6 people work on the same project. And at the end result, the company will get a completed project that they've agreed upon up front, and all 6 people in the training will be Greenbelt certified and have a project that is also certified. Any questions from anybody on that?
David, this is Barbara. The 180 name, where did that come from?
That came from Dan and Amy and I. We wanted something. We threw out a couple different names, Barbara, and when you do Google searches and all that good stuff on the internet, it was coming back that someone else had it, or, you know, there was 5,000 listings under it. And we were thinking that the 180 would kind of symbolize taking the approach in a different direction. Rather than doing the training, then doing a project, we would get the project up front and use the project as we went through the training. So that was kind of
cool.
where.
Yeah. I was just curious. I didn't know. You know, somebody asked, I wouldn't be able to tell them what that, you know, what the 180 meant. So, but I think that's a really interesting approach.
Thanks. I think it was a great idea from our marketing team. They did the research on that, and you know, hopefully the name. We've been doing these. We currently are delivering our 3rd on-site version of this, and we've already had a repeat client come in and ask for another session later on this year. We have another one scheduled as well. So we've got 5 of these new derivatives under our belt.
David?
Yes.
This is Bill. If anyone has any questions, they can, about what's going on also in the middle of it, they can call me, or because I'm in the middle of one right now. In fact, this afternoon I'm having one of my half days of follow-up. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Bill and Jeff are the ones delivering. Jeff Beeman and Bill Accavelli are the ones delivering this so far. So they each have one under their belt, and they have more scheduled. The next sheet in the next file in the folder is the Excel spreadsheet that Chris worked up.
Dave, this is Mitch. I have one quick question before you move on.
Sure.
From the time the Jeff or Bill go in for the session with management from that very first day, approximately how long is it taking companies to finish through the from start to beginning? About how long is that process taking?
If you do the first day, Mitch, you know, it probably needs to be more than a week before the classes start to make sure you get the project right and everyone feels good about it. So if you figure 2 weeks, and then you're going to do a week of training, come back a month later, do another week of training, and then you'll have your 3 follow-up days usually over a 2-month period. So you're looking at from the time the project starts to ending of somewhere around 3 to 4 months.
Okay, all right, thank you. I had a client ask about it a couple days ago, so I appreciate that.
Yeah. So Chris put together a sheet out there. It's the options page, the Lean Sigma 180 options. We're on revision 2 right now. And what that does, it's going to show you the different options that are available. As we talked about, the class is structured for 6 people, all working on one project, but we do have the option in there, as an example, the 6 people, but the company wants to do 2 projects. So what we would do is we would, on that upfront day, we would still, we would define 2 projects instead of 1, and we would determine which of the 6 people were working on each project. And they would go through the training, the 7 days of training together. However, when Bill or Jeff or whoever went back to work with the teams, we would put 3 days for each team in the coaching model. So every participant is still going through 11 days, but the company is seeing 14 days because each team is being coached for 3 days. So it's no extra time on the individual person, and the company actually gets 2 projects instead of 1. And that's been a model. It actually was the first one we did because Gene Benedus's client had that option in there. So that's an example of one of the options, and it's laid out in the sheet. And when you look at the sheet, it describes what the option is as well as what the cost is going to be. So in that particular example, there would be 3 extra days in there of IES staff time, and so we would increase the cost there. I think Chris has had conversations with a lot of the RMs, so this is kind of where the options came about. If you're watching the screen, you know, a lot of times folks are just like, I appreciate the 3 days, but maybe they want 5 days of coaching. We know that's just extra add-on days at our standard rate. So that's in there. That would be an example on number 6. Sometimes the client has Minitab already, and so obviously, you know, we wouldn't need to charge them for the Minitab, so we could back that out. But Minitab is a requirement to go into this for the teams to have. So it's just an options page. As we go forward with this class, you know, we pride ourselves at IES for being able to customize to meet needs. So I'm sure this sheet will be added to over time. We want to be as flexible as we can, but also still maintain the integrity of what we're trying to do here with Lean Sigma 180. Any particular questions on any of the options for Lean Sigma 180?
David, this is Rex. I just wanted to mention, I got in a few minutes late, but I've had the community college asking a lot about Six Sigma, and this is what I'm putting out there, and I've written a couple of proposals, which evidently they have a license or some kind of agreement with Jump software, and they're kind of pushing that. And you might want to talk a little bit about that situation. I know you and I talked about that.
Yeah, right now with our expertise, we're limited to Minitab. So if someone wanted to do this with Jump, we would have to utilize our relationship with the College of Textiles and get one of their folks that are that's trained in jump to actually teach that for us. It is an option. We can do that, and would be willing to do that if that's what the client needed. But currently, we cannot use in-house resources to teach the jump software. Personally speaking, the jump software is very advanced. It is probably above what someone needs for Greenbelt. The tools with that, they're much more analytical, and even my talks with the folks at College of Textiles, the software is better than Minitab, but they're probably not going to utilize it, and that software is about $1,900 a license compared to the $800 that Minitab is. Any questions on that? Anybody have any comments before I move on? There's also another file in there. The marketing group kind of worked up some talking points on Lean Sigma 180, what it is, what it isn't. It's a nice little one page. It's also what's available out there on the web, on our website. So I put a copy of that out there in the folder for everyone to look at. And then the last thing that's in the folder is the actual budget sheet. And you'll see on the budget sheet that we've got the 12 days in there. We've got the materials in there, which is the Minitab software, as well as all the books and materials needed for the class. To kind of give you an idea, right now it's going to be $23,424 for 6 people to go through that. That's if everyone needs a Minitab license. You know, again, in the options you can kind of see if they already have 2 licenses, then you know how much that's going to back out of the cost. So hopefully the RMs will have everything they need when they're in there talking with the client. Of course, you know, they can contact me, Bill, or Jeff if they have any other questions on it.
David, this is Cammie.
Okay.
I got in on the call a minute or two late too. Where's the folder that you keep talking about?
It's on my share drive.
Okay.
And if you look under mine, Cammie, there's 2 folders out there. There's the Lean Sigma 180 folder, and then there's also the LPU for 2013 that we'll be talking about next.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Hey, David, this is Barrett.
Yes. Hey, Barrett.
On the pricing, since there's only one instructor, and I know we've added coaching days, I thought this ended up being a little bit less expensive than our public course.
It's right around where, when we first started this, Barrett, we had 11 days in there, and it was basically the same price as our open enrollment. And now with the 12th day in there, with the project selection and everything, I think it's made it just a tad bit more expensive when you just look at sticker to sticker. But, you know, with this being on-site and the company not having to do travel costs and all of that, it's still going to be a cheaper option for them.
Is our public course still with 2 instructors?
The public course, if there are more than 10 people in the class, then there's 2 instructors. If there's 10 or less, then there's 1 instructor in there.
Okay. Thanks.
And, yeah, and that's a good, you know, just speaking of that, you know, you'll see one of the options on the options page there. Let's say a client wanted to do this and they had 12 people that they wanted to send through the class. You know, then we'd go in there with 2 instructors. And, you know, we could break them up in a variety of teams. It would be at least 2 teams with 6 on each team. But if they wanted 3 teams or 4 teams, you know, we could work with that. We would just, if we do more than 6 people, we're going to have to add a 2nd instructor in there just to manage all that, help with the projects and everything else. Good question. Anybody else have anything? I think one of the points I just want to make clear is this doesn't replace the Greenbelt. This is just another option. The standard Greenbelt class, some clients have had that in the past, and that's what they want for continuity, and we will certainly go in there and work with that. Our feeling is that the Lean Sigma 180 is a better project, is a better product because it focuses on the project work. And so if we can get that done for the same price as going to an open enrollment where they're not going to get the follow-up coaching, they're more than likely going to have to travel away from home. And at the end of the day, only about 25% of the people actually get certified on a project. So the company may or may not be getting all the benefit that they're paying for in the training.
Hey, David, this is Chris. Excuse me. There's another point. I think it's important to realize too that anybody goes through this class is eligible for the +2 class. So they're going to be much farther ahead than a normal Greenbelt student because they would have done a project. So when they go to that 2 weeks of black belt training, they're going to be further ahead than the average Joe.
Yeah, that's a great point, Chris. They will actually demonstrate it and apply some of the knowledge that they've learned, and should make it easier for them to go into the +2 for sure. Any other questions on that? Comments on Lean Sigma 180 before we switch over to another topic?
David, this is Robert. One of the benefits that Revlon saw in this is that it would allow them to build an internal resource pool of people that could help each other. So by selling Revlon on site, they got a good team building experience where they now have 4 to 6 people who are going to be trained in the same project and understand how it works to support each other, which is a little bit different than the open enrollment benefit.
Absolutely. And, one of the other things that we struggle with in our open enrollment classes, just every one of them, is they show up on day 1 and they don't have a project, or they have a project that by day 2 or 3 they realize is the wrong project. So then they're struggling to call the plant to try to find, I had this scoped wrong, or this is the wrong idea. And we see that in the open enrollment type environment, because they haven't had that one day up front, that they really struggle, staying with some others in the class.
Well, this is Bill. We just wrapped up the Revlon educational part, and what I liked about it was that because they're all together, they're definitely making a lot of connections during the training part, like on the concepts. They could talk about how it might apply to them, or things like that. And it's real. Again, when we compare open classes to classes we do with one client on site, to me that's one of the benefits that they get out of it, is they're able to have more practical examples amongst each other. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, Bill. That's a good point. Anybody else on Lean Sigma 180? All right. We'll switch over. If you have a question, we can certainly come back when we recap everything. Haven't talked about Lean Performance U in the last probably 2 years. Several years ago, probably 4 years ago, we were trying to get this program launched, and we actually had a couple of events up at Pitt, and then attendance really started dropping, and we had a hard time making classes. This week, I've kind of firmed up some stuff with Bob Plott, who's now the general manager at Pitt. Breon is no longer associated with Pitt, and I've got some work to do to get with Josh and his team next week on some of this. But if you look, if you're on the screen, I kind of stayed with the same format that Chris worked up for Lean Sigma 180. Again, all of this is out there on my share drive underneath the LPU for 2013 subfolder. Wanted to talk a little bit about the LPU, what we call the standard number one there, the standard LPU 2-day program. That is on-site at Pitt. And what that is day one is mostly Pitt, where in the morning they're prepping everybody for the pit stop changes in the afternoon. And the afternoon is when the teams undergo the 6 different simulations of actually, learning to pit a race car. I think most of y'all have probably seen that. I put some files out on the share. There's a PowerPoint that kind of shows you the classes. It shows you the facility. It shows you each round, what we're trying to accomplish with the objectives of each round. So there's a PowerPoint file out there. It's kind of large. I think it's like 8 or 9 meg. But it's out there. I think that would be a good reference tool, especially for the RMs, to maybe to have that or review that if you go in and talk with a client. There's also a video of the pits and what goes on. I had trouble putting that out there because it was so large. I'm on campus today, so I'm going to try to get that put in my share file today as well. So I'll try to put that out there. You'll see that. It's a good little 3 to 4 minute video that was produced by Pitt to kind of show people what's happening during that day. And then what we've been doing on day 2 is we come in, we go over the metrics from the pit stops from day 1. We actually go tour the truck shop that is across the street. The owner of the truck shop also owns Pitt, and he has 3 trucks in the truck series. They're all championship contenders, and he takes them on a personal behind-the-scenes tour, focusing on the improvements, continuous improvements, the housekeeping, the 5S aspects. And then when we come back from that is when we've had a lean specialist there. Usually it's Bill Icabelli or myself, and we go through basic lean tools, and then we have a value stream mapping exercise that we take them through, and then we do a wrap-up. That agenda is also on the share drive there, but that is what we call the standard 2-day program. That 2-day program can be carried off-site, and you'll see that down there on the options. And it can also be done at Pitt. The cost for that is $750 per person if it's an open enrollment type of class. If we take it off-site, you're pretty much looking at, unless you have 25 people or more, it's probably going to be, you're probably going to be looking at least $25 grand to take it off-site. And it varies. Bob couldn't give me exact pricing because it really depends on if they're having overnight stays, how far they're traveling from Pitt, how many cars he's having to bring. So it's, if you get a number there of people in a location, I can get you a quote very quickly. But it really depends on how many folks he's having to take, how many cars, and the distance that they're traveling. But that's the standard 2-day model. Any questions on the 2-day model? I would encourage everyone, we're going to try to hold an open class June 18th and 19th. And I'll be getting with Josh and his team to try to get some materials out there. But especially to the RMs, if we can get 12 folks to sign up for this, we want to have another class. So that's going to be our target, to get at least 12. And then maybe we can get some of the RMs that haven't seen this to come up there, especially for day 1, and see that. I think that would be a good thing for us at IES to do. Any thoughts on that or comments from any of the RMs on that? All right.
This is Cammie. It's definitely worth seeing and even participating in if you have a chance or an opportunity.
What were the dates again?
Those dates are June 18th and 19th.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So if you're able to look at the screen right now, option number 2 is something that's new that we're going to try to do. It's going to be what we call 3-pack. We used to do a lot of 3-packs when I first started at IES, and we kind of stayed with the same thing, but we're incorporating the pit experience in rather than the Lean 100 that we used to do on day 1. So day 1 is going to be the first day of the pit experience. Day 2, what we're going to do is take 5S and standard work, and we're going to incorporate that into the actual race shops. Pitts just signed a new deal with Joe Gibbs Racing, so we're hoping to utilize their facility. If not, we still have the agreement with Michael Waltrip Racing where we've worked up the 5S worksheet, and we have the behind-the-scenes tour and all of that. So that will be our backup plan to go to Michael Waltrip, but we're wanting to develop something new with Gibbs, their little higher-profile team. But we're actually, instead of doing the simulation, the helicopter simulation for the 5S standard work, we're actually going to work that out to where they go to a race shop, they make some observations, they talk with some of the people there, and then we come back and work on the 5S's from that standpoint. So it's a pretty neat activity, and it kind of keeps with the theme of doing pit. And then on day 3, we're going to focus on value stream mapping and Kaizen, and we will use the day 1 pit stop that the group did for the value stream activity on day 2. So we'll do a little bit of training on value stream mapping and Kaizen, and then take them into the activity on value stream. So that's the 3-pack of what we're wanting to do. We want to hold that this September from September 10th, 11th, and 12th. That'll be a 3-day. And again, Bob and I just worked out those dates this week, so this is very early on. I've got to get with Josh and let them work their magic in our marketing to help pull this together. The cost there is going to be about $900. So any thoughts or on the 3-pack?
David, I think that's a great idea. That'd be something nice to put into a transformation program, you know, with a senior management team right up front, get them off site, expose them to the tools, and then go do the rest of the transformation back at their facility.
Yeah, I think Steve Layton saw that when he first saw this pit. I know that he had that when he was looking at, you know, having part of the electives in our transformation effort focus on that, and you know, we just kind of stayed with that, Barrett. I agree. If we can get some senior level people to go through this, I think it'll really help the overall project. Any other questions on that? I want to talk a little bit on some of the options and everything. When you look down, I'm going to page down just a little bit on the spreadsheet. And just try to list out some of the things. When we have a 2-day program, and Barrett and I are going through that right now with hopefully Deer Hitachi, but we can customize that day too. You know, day 1, there's really not a lot of need to customize. But day 2, instead of going through lean basics or going through value stream and Kaizen, the way we have it structured in our standard, you know, if a client wants, hey, I just want all 5S, we're weak in 5S, I want 5S, we can teach day 2, we can make that all 5S. Or if they want all SMED, we can make that all SMED. So we have flexibility there to change day 2 without it changing the cost, unless it's going to require us to do some development work. At the same time, if they wanted to do something, since Barbara's on the phone, if they wanted, hey, this all sounds great, but I want to do something, that's in Barbara's product line, then it's going to cost a little bit more, because we're going to have to bring in, someone from Barbara to teach it, and we'll already be there. One of the lean folks will be there. So the cost could go up, but it'd just be a little bit more. It shouldn't be anything too dramatic to go changing around the content of day 2. So that's what I was trying to put there under options number 3. Also, we could do a one-day version and just do the PIT experience in the afternoon and do some type of blended PIT/IES content the morning of the day, the morning session. PIT came to us because they felt like after the experience there needed to be more. There needed to be a day 2, but everything that they pretty much do on their own is a one-day program. And so if a client needed that, we could do that. The only downside is the real cost of the event is in the PIT activity, so you're not really going to save a lot of money. And you can kind of see that when you compare number 5 to number 3, it's not a lot of dollar savings, even though it's a whole day less. And that's because most of the cost of the program is in bringing in all the people to run the 6 different simulations for the pit stop. On all of these sessions, 12 needs to be the minimum to make the class. If they have less than 12, then they're still going to pay that cost. So I don't think it's going to be economical for them to only have 6. They're still going to pay, $8,400 if it's a one day, if they're only bringing 6 people. Any questions on that? And then number 7 there is the add-on for every additional person over the 12. And what Bob said was for person number 13 all the way to 36, we're just going with a flat rate of $650 for each of those folks. Sorry, move the screen down there. If we have more than 36 people, then we can get a custom pricing from Bob on that number. So I think that'll give the RMs enough guideline to go out there and feel good about quoting something, and only if you have a really big group, a group that's over 36, would you need to call and get some custom quoting. Does that work for everybody? Does that help out to the RMs?
Hey, Dave, this is Chris. So that doesn't matter whether it's a 2 or a 3-day program. It's still going to be that additional charge per person.
Yeah, because most of that, Chris, is just on them participating in the pit stop.
Okay.
And just to kind of help y'all understand the coaching, if there's 5 different positions on the car, so for each car they bring in 5 pit crew members, and they do individual station training. So for every car that we're utilizing, there's 5 people there to support, 5 coaches there to support that. If you're looking at the screen, that's kind of where we are with the options. I've got agendas out there. I've got the standard 2-day agenda that we kind of discussed earlier. You can see it of what we're doing on the 2-day, and there's also the 3-pack agenda that's out there as well. Just briefly pull that up. If there's any questions, just stop me. I'll be glad to cover any of that. And then there's a large file out there that I just call benefits, but it kind of gives you, it's going to give you a flavor of the customization that can be made. It gives you a picture of the facility, of what the teams are doing, you know, how we give everybody uniforms, so you'll be able to see our card that we did way back. I think that one's actually 4 years old, where we had the 3 different teams. They wear different uniforms. You know, it's somewhat of a friendly, competitive environment there. And then it kind of talks to you about, you know, what they need, what they're going to get, how it works with you know, up to 21 people on a car. For those of y'all that haven't seen it, what we do is we put people in teams of 5 to 7. So let's just go with 7 right now. So we would have 7 people on a team. So we would have 1 team being trained. We would have 1 team on the car and 1 team in a debrief. And they're rotating around. So you get trained, you go do the car, and then you do a debrief. So that's the cycle for every round. So for all 6 rounds, you're going to run through that cycle. And so that allows 1 car to have 21 people. So if you had 42 people there, we'd have 2 cars, and we'd have 6 teams. And it shows you the roles there. And then we go through the key concepts for every round. So this is pit stop 1. It's on the screen now, pit stop 2, and it goes all the way down through all 6. And then I put some photos in there to kind of let you show your folks of what it looks like, you know, what it can be. Remember, these have overhead cameras. The one that you're looking there with the all-tail car, you know, that's actually at pit when they used to host the NASCAR Challenge, Pit Stop Challenge. So you can see the overhead camera. You can see how the pit lanes are laid out, how nice the facility is. And then, you know, if they want to put their, you know, if a client wanted to put their name on the car, those wraps are pretty inexpensive to actually create a wrap and put that on the car. So we can certainly do that. There's some dimensions of what we need for the different pit stops. If we're having 1 car or 2 cars, and then that's kind of what it looks like. And then, you know, they're in the NASCAR business. You know how you see every time you look at a race car, it's got 10,000 sponsors on it. So if somebody wanted to make up, you know, if a company wanted to make up some mugs or some T-shirts or some hats with their logos on there, you know, we could help them with that too. So that's in the benefits. Might be helpful to take that in there as well as the video that I'm going to try to get put out there today. So any questions on Lean Performance U?
David, have you heard anything about somebody who left Pit U and has a car and is doing some lean training out there?
Yeah, Doug Burns. Doug was there 5 years ago. And he left Pitt, and he started up his own place. I'm not sure what facility he's using now. I've heard that he's been able to upgrade. But Doug's very familiar with what the Pitt program is. I haven't talked with Doug about it, but I know that there was a non-compete that all of those folks had signed, and I guess after 5 years, it's probably gone now. But I'm sure that's some competition that Pitt's having there, and I'm sure that the training is going to be very similar, Rex. I know that Doug had been using a small garage So you get the same experience, but he didn't have the nice theater and the breakout rooms and other stuff like that. But I don't know where he's at today. Any other questions or comments? All right. How about in general? Anything on either topic? We've got a couple minutes left. I'll be glad to ask any questions. Again, the materials out there on my share drive in one of the 2 subfolders. Feel free to look at that, copy it, take it to the clients, whatever you need. If you see anything on either one of these products that you would like more information on, please get in touch with me, and I'll be glad to assist and get you whatever you need. Anything else?
Well done, David.
Thank y'all. Hey, thanks again to Chris McGraw. He pulled a lot of this together, and I really appreciate his time on that. And like Icavelli said, he and Jeff Eamon are the experts out delivering this. So if it's not an easy question, you probably don't need to call me. You probably need to call them if it's a hard question.
Thanks.
All right. Well,
Hey, David, this is Cam. I just thought of a question.
Hey, sure.
If you have a client that's interested in something off-site or, on their facility site, how far in advance would they need to start working on this? How quickly could they get something, in process?
For Lean Performance U, as long as it's not the month of May or October, I would say within a month. The races in Charlotte are in May and October, and Pitt's very limited with what they can do. They're just full those 2 months. But if it's any other month, Cammie, we can get them a quote within a day or 2, and I would say we would be able to schedule something with them, within a month.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
David, this is Jeff. Are both of these programs on our website?
The Lean Sigma 180 is. The Lean Performance U is not at this point. This was one that I just worked out this with Bob. We're kind of revitalizing this from a couple years ago, so that's on my to-do list to get with Josh and his team to get all of this up there.
Okay.
So in the interim, Jeff, I've thrown out the material on my share drive, and if you need anything else, I'll be glad to try to work that up. But that's on my plate to do. I just finalized all this with Bob Plott this week.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Anybody else have anything? Well, thank you for your time, and I hope y'all have a good day and a great weekend.
You too, David.
Thank you, David. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.